KCAAclub.com. Call us at 818-610-8088.
Miss your favorite show? Download the podcast at kcaaradio.com.
Southern California's Inland Talk Express is KCAA.
Live and in color from the NBC News radio broadcasting studios of KCAA, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM, located in beautiful Southern California, and in parallel from the Turf's Up radio studio in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone show this evening.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Water Zone show and joining us. We appreciate you doing that. We couldn't hear at the beginning of the intro. And so we were sitting there in silence for about 10 seconds. Then I started to talk, and then it came on. So we're all here together. We're here with actually two wow women, which I always call the women of water. It's Miss Tara Mullally and Miss Chris Austin, and we're glad to have you. So, ladies, how are you? Start with Chris today. How are you? How are you doing today? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And see, that's how you know the show's live. Right? In case you had any question. Yeah, we're doing pretty nice up here in the North State. 91 today, not too terribly hot. But maybe we might have a cold front coming in and may even have snow flurries in Tahoe over the weekend. So
that's what I heard.
Perfect. That's what our snowpack. Oh wait, no, it's not cold enough for snowpack. I'm sorry to mock the snowpack.
And Tara, what is your weather? What is your weather?
Oh, my weather's like a really toasty 64. Yeah, I'm. You know, I used to live in the Coachella Valley, for those of you who did not know, and that was life, and I did not understand that. Although I do love the Coachella Valley, it will always have a special place in my heart. It is a lovely, lovely oasis in the middle of a bunch of kind of not a lot of stuff, but it is amazing. So feel free to visit.
Are you a surfer girl?
No. No. I'm a water girl.
Okay. Oh yeah, I know that.
I mean, I live and breathe this stuff. That's kind of my only jam. Unfortunately, surfing actually requires a lot of dedication and time, as does my current position, and that's what I choose to invest in.
That's good. Hope your bosses are listening.
I didn't even get paid to say that. That's what's crazy.
Well, you gotta, if you don't get it, you gotta do it before you go in.
Right.
Because once you're in, you don't get nothing more. You're just done.
I know, it's just done.
Well, it's 91. Sorry, it's 109 here today, and it gets hotter as we get towards 5 o'clock. Kind of different in temperature. Had a little sprinkles yesterday, a little doom and gloom, but nothing else today. So I know there's a lot going on, and one of the hot issues is sites.
Oh, the water wars.
Yes.
Water wars.
So, Chris, what do you know?
Oh, yeah, it's heating up over the site's reservoir process. The State Water Board issued its draft water rights, and actually I listened in on the update at the Water Commission, and the site's people point out that just that in and of itself is amazing, that the Water Board did decide to say there was water available, and it's the first such large-scale water right, possible approval since, 1970. So they say, we need to appreciate that. However, it's not enough to make the project viable for its users, or the people at Sites Reservoir do not think that it does. And so they're pressing for some changes to get more water, and the opponents of the reservoir, which are some environmental organizations and some tribes, are really pushing hard against the reservoir. This is an off-stream reservoir that would capture some of the high flows off the Sacramento River and store them in Sites Reservoir so we could use them during the dry season. And it provides some ecosystem benefits by being able to provide some flows to the delta and other things. And it's a reservoir that has been long sought by the folks in the North Valley. And it has a list of people already subscribed to the project and a waiting list of other people that want to subscribe to the project, and they're willing to put their money down and build this reservoir. So everything is kind of, lined up that this project, I mean, we haven't, can't remember the last time we had a big dam where everybody is willing to pay for it. I mean, I guess that would be Los Vaqueros, I guess, perhaps. It's beneficiary pays is a big part of water projects these days, and here we have a water project and beneficiaries willing to pay for it. And we'd have but we have these environmentalists and conservation organizations and tribes that are against this reservoir. And I think overall, in the environmental community, it's those higher flows that kind of do unexpected things in the environment. They're variable. They only happen once in a great while, and they sort of reset the ecosystem. They're very beneficial. And I think that the environmentalists are worried that all of those flows now are going to be cut off, that, that so much water is going into all these projects and it's just too much. I think they are sort of, they subscribe to the theory that if you're in a hole, stop digging first. They see water project development very consequential to the ecosystems and the species, and which it has been, and so they kind of, I think, they're sort of at that, if you're in a hole, stop digging. So that's kind of where they're at, and that's sort of the tension that we're seeing. And I think Governor Newsom and the other, like the Water Commission supports the project. It's one of theirs for the water storage investment program that they've selected, so they've been supporting the reservoir, and so things are heating up because it's interesting that there's a story in Politico that links to a commentary I ran yesterday from who was it? The California Sport Fishing Protection Alliance and the San Francisco Baykeeper. And so, kind of not happy with them, what they see as meddling in with the State Water Board. So I don't know. It will be interesting to see who wins this one. The Sites Reservoir proponents need that water right to be bigger than it is. Right now, it's about 2/3 of what they're asking for. They wanted 1.5 million acre feet, and they got just under 987,000 acre feet or something. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We're coming down to the wire. Are we going to build this thing or not? I haven't seen this much momentum for a water project, in all my years of doing this. This big of a project. So,
well, and it's interesting because something I was just talking about with someone is the idea of, right, you've got a hole, don't dig deeper, and the idea of conservation being the thing that's going to save water for California. And with the amount of conservation that's just already been done, the hundreds of thousands of acre feet that have been saved because of these very same agencies that then become villainized for not saving enough and punished and fined, is, to me, kind of crazy, because not only are they, for example, if you save more water, you lose revenue. So there's that moment in time. But then in addition, and then people are like, "What, I saved water? Why do my bills go up?" And it's like, your bills didn't go up. Your per acre, like your per gallon went up because you're using less water, and most costs are fixed. You're paying for the ability to turn on your tap at any point in time and having water come right out of that tap. So conserving more, so first of all, we're already going to have to do that in some aspect or another because of the whole cutting down per capita per day. I think it's 40 something at this point that we're supposed to hit by, what is it, 2030, 2040, somewhere in there. Yeah. Anyway, so we're already going to have to conserve there, per person. But the idea that everything is going to come out of water use as opposed to also building increased water supply, when we increasingly have these dramatic shifts in weather, it's just unsustainable. And if you're also talking about ensuring that those who are underserved, those who need water to be affordable the most, they're the ones that are probably going to end up paying more for this water so that, we can have, green something. And I'm not saying that environmental uses are not critically as important, but at some point there has to be a balance. And if you shut down every project and every single thing that expands water because it's going to do X or it's going to do Y, and you can't even quantify that, you're just like, in my heart, I know this is bad. It starts to feel like noise. And I would really hate for, as somebody who is sort of invested in the environmental world, I definitely, volunteer, I give back, I do all that. I really care about the environment in a way that is deeply ingrained in who I am and how I was raised. I would hate to have everyone just go oh, it's just noise, because then we lose our voice. Because if everybody just says, oh, we don't have any facts, oh, we don't have any of this information, and it just becomes noise, then when it really counts, we've already cried wolf.
I think when the flows are really high in the Sacramento Basin and it's overflowing out the Yolo bypass, it's enormous how much millions of acre feet are flowing out. It's tens of millions of acre feet. So, and what they're talking about is 1.5 million acre feet. I think, but it's a different hydrology in the North Valley than it is in the South Valley. Yeah. There have been concerns in the South Valley about floodmar, which is, using excess flows to put water on farmland, because it could affect the Delta exports south, which actually, and this was from the PPIC. This was not like a fringe group. This was I believe it was the PPIC pointing out that things are a lot tighter on the San Joaquin River, such that there could be concerns, which is amazing because I didn't realize that. But in Northern California, there's so much water coming down the Sacramento River and all the rivers out of the Sierra. And the problem is, it's not, we have what we call the rim dams that are meant to capture snow melt, but the majority of that water is falling below those dams on the valley floors, and we need to be able to capture that water, not just move it off to the sea. And that means, yes, having it in the agricultural fields and stuff, certainly floodmar for groundwater recharge, but also being able to capture this water for a Slice Reservoir. If you listen to all the climate folks, is kind of the project that they seem to be saying we need to build something underneath the rim dams that captures those high flows.
I've always thought it was an excellent project. I think my personal view is, you take a guy like Wade Crowfoot, who's in charge of natural resources. I think he's one of the greatest speakers on the subject.
Oh, we love Wade.
Yeah. Well, he needs to do more. I think he's more valuable. I don't want people to take this wrong than Newsom in going out and selling it and making people understand what it does. Well,
I think you called it what you said. I just was like, I know.
I know.
Wade is very eloquent and really knows his stuff. I mean, he does.
Yes,
that's for sure true.
And it's not a political game with him.
That's also true. He really truly values the environment. He values water. Yeah.
I mean,
and he loves his job. I mean, it's very obvious.
Yeah, he's very passionate about what he does. There's no, I'm just doing this to get to a different place. You don't feel that right. with him.
No,
and I don't think he's running for or wants to run for elected office. So he's he doesn't. Not that.
Not yet.
No, it's like the lady who's in charge of ag for California.
Karen Ross.
Karen Ross.
Oh yeah, she is a very enthusiastic proponent for California agriculture.
She's been over the years
positive and cheery and loved it.
She knows her stuff. She's been on in 11 years. She's been on 3 times on our show, and just a wonderful guest. But she's like, wait, those are the people that I trust and believe, because they're not out to make, like you said, they're not out for elected. Well, one is, but it's more honesty and the facts, and people want to hear the truth more. They don't want to look at it from a political side, and they really do need the sightseeing. I think it's really a great project. Always have, and anyway, I hope it gets through the hurdles, because it's been a long time since I started this thing. I'd like to see it get done.
Well, they're working towards if they can solve this water rights issue, if they can get the water rights more favorable, they're ready. They're working towards beginning construction in 2027, just next year.
Yep.
If they don't get a favorable final water rights ruling, then he said that they will pause for, this is the executive director said they'd pause for about 2 to 4 months and figure out what they're going to do at that point. Mm-hmm. It'd be tough to make major changes or restructure that project at this time. So
change subject a little bit. So you were talking about in your blog on the Super El Nino. That's hoping they don't disrupt renewable energy because of what's going to happen with the weather.
Oh, we love the Super El Nino. I have to go pull that one up because that one was just like a minute add-in.
We always catch you on the last minute add-in. I'm just saying, it's for whatever reason. I think it's because that's the article that probably went, oh, I really need to make sure this is on there because it's interesting, and then we're just tuned into that.
Or you talk about Sigma Ready crops.
Oh yeah. Now that I thought that was interesting. What they're really talking about there is getting farmers to switch over to winter crops for forage crops rather than trying to grow them towards the summer. And they seem to, the PPIC seems to feel that farmers might be able to use this and grow crops during the winter and fallow, let it be fallow in the summer, trying to figure out how to make things work. So
it's an interesting attempt, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it's just, it seems more broader but when you really drill down into the report, they're really talking about winter forage crops.
Yeah.
But that would be if you have, if you have a lot of farmland, that may be an alternative to fallowing, and you may not get a lot of money for that, but you get some money for those crops. So.
Well, I don't want to drive the farmers out of business because California needs that. It's one of the greatest money makers of the state, for the state.
I'm actually less concerned about the money, if I'm going to be really honest. It's more about the loss of the actual crops themselves. That makes all of our all of our grocery bills continue to, what I feel like is skyrocketing. Like, I feel like last year, it's like every time I go to the grocery store, it's like, oh, that's just another $50 to $100. And I'm like, are you kidding? Anyways, yesterday I went to a fast food restaurant and I ordered 2 meals and it was $30. And I was just like, how is this a thing? How is this a thing right now? I was shocked, and I was just like, and I go to the grocery store and it's not cheaper there. So I don't like I'm actually worried less about the farmers making the money than I am about them going, yeah, this tomatoes are no longer marketable. So let's just stop making tomatoes and we'll have somebody else in another country make them. And then we're paying the shipping costs and then they're controlling the price point. So now everything can get more expensive because we're importing and we have less control over costs. Like, I think about those consequences of, local control matters for a reason. And the more control we give to other countries, the less control we have here.
But the problem we are facing, though, in the Central Valley is that we don't have the water to continue to grow as much as we are growing there. And it's
a reservoir that captured water during high storm flows with a million...
Well, let me see. I did a whole piece on this United Water Plan that's coming out that the water blueprint for the San Joaquin Valley put forward. I did that for my donors and sponsors in my newsletter that you get if you donate to me. Hint, hint.
1 in 10.
But they said the deficit is 2.5 million acre feet of water per year, I believe is what they said. So if it's 2.5, then you'd have to have a number of sites, reservoirs, more than one you'd need in order to, and, it would have to be a series because, the Central Valley is a very big valley. So where else might you put, they do want to do more south of Delta storage. Right now, it's all groundwater banks. That's what's being proposed. And that reservoir outside of Patterson, Del Puerto, that's another reservoir. But when you go beyond that, where would you put it?
And that is a question for a groundwater modeling person and or a city water planner of some kind. So beyond my scope of work, but it still needs to be done.
Well, there was a guy that used to say in his presentations that why do you think around 1950, 1960, everybody, California stopped building dams? Because all the best sites are used. So whatever sites we have now, for building water storage are much harder to build. Like, sites is not one dam. It's like 7 dams around the ring, around the mountains to build it up so that it's a bigger bowl to hold water. And so it's not just simple as anymore.
Well, but isn't there that, water renaissance where we're just supposed to desalinate our way out of this?
Which is
well, I don't think the water renaissance plan is pushing for desalination.
Didn't they have some desal, some groundwater, and mostly conservation? Wasn't that and water reuse? We could water reuse it.
That's also expensive too. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot. These are all such multifaceted issues, and we can just go on, and that is why Maven's Notebook exists. People see sometimes, you have a whole website devoted to California water news. It's actually, yeah.
We should get Newsom on the air. Have him come in and see what he wants to talk about with water.
Go for it.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Versus Gavin.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
I'd be like, Gavin, I love your ideas, but do you literally have any follow through? Just any. Like,
See, and you were making fun of me earlier. See, I would ask him, where's he getting the money from?
well, that would be the follow through. Same.
Yeah. I mean, with the debt that they got, I just can't see how they're going to work their way out of that.
Yeah, although I will still congratulate him for being the governor of California instead of Arizona, because you know how I feel.
Well, I'm not. I can't comment on that.
I know.
I won't. I asked too many people to come on the show, and I don't cause a problem. We try to be non-biased here.
Okay, right. Arizona's amazing. We're amazing. Everyone's amazing.
That's right. We'll all hold hands and go, as Chris says, go to Kumbaya.
Exactly. So. Arizona's done some pretty cool stuff. I just,
Yes, it is.
Fifth generation California.
We're looking at taking a 40% hit in water coming up. So that's
you'll be lucky if it's just 40%,
and not 77%.
People say 77%. So.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a war about water coming up, so we'll do that. Well, Chris, it's that time that we turn our over to our commercial breaks, but I want to give a commercial for you. All our listeners, please go to mavensnotebook.com. It's the greatest place to get information about water. You hear it before you read about it in any other magazine or newspaper or even TV or radio. Chris stays up all night long. She gets like a half hour sleep a night. And she's not a druggie. She doesn't take pills or stuff. Just drinks lots of coffee, right? That's what she do. And Coca-Cola. But anyway, she gets.
I never thought about it, but now I do.
She types her little heart out every single night. But no, she knows everybody in the industry. She does a great job. I get it every single morning. When I wake up, it's on my laptop, and I read it. It's really good information to know. And if you care to be a sponsor of that, she'd appreciate that. You'll send a little bit of joy for all her work that she does. And literally, she works way more than a 10-hour day doing catching up on the news and talking to everybody and getting the straight facts. So we appreciate it because we get it right from the mouth, and we appreciate that. So Chris, thank you very much for joining us and being part of our show all the time. And everybody, go to Maven's Notebook. Take a good read. You'll love it. All right?
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. All right, we're going to take a little break for our commercial sponsors, and then we're going to be back with a special WOW guest. And I have to fill that person in on what a WOW person is, so I don't get a lawsuit against me for saying something wrong. Anyhow, stick around. We'll be back in just 2 minutes. Or 3.
Take control of your business anywhere, anytime with the SiteOne mobile app. Designed for contractors on the go, the app keeps you connected to your account wherever the job takes you. When you're signed in, you get full visibility into your personal account without needing a computer. Check your contractor-specific pricing, see real-time inventory, create custom lists, and reorder from your product history or saved lists in just a few taps. Scanning QR codes makes managing products even easier. You can quickly add items to a list, view product details, or add them to your cart in an instant. Need to approve a quote or pay a bill? You can do it right from your phone. Track your orders, view invoices, even redeem your partner's program points for rewards that give back to your business. Plan smarter with built-in project calculators that save time and help you quote with confidence. Logging in is quick and secure. Use Face ID or Touch ID for instant access. Customize your experience by choosing your preferred language in English or Spanish. Looking to level up your knowledge? Browse, learn, and explore videos and articles, or find local events to stay connected with your SiteOne community. The SiteOne mobile app puts the power of your business in your pocket.
Water is one of the biggest expenses for communities, HOAs, universities, golf courses, and resorts. So keeping those costs under control, especially when rates are increasing while water supplies are being reduced, are often essential to a customer's survival. Managing water requires multiple skills, which is why it's been complicated and difficult until now. AquaTrack brings multiple skills and technologies together to help large system users conserve outdoor water and improve the health of their landscapes. AquaTrack's professionals are certified landscape water managers and certified landscape irrigation auditors. The company offers audit services, upgrade advice, technical expertise, and water use monitoring. We already manage irrigation water for the largest homeowner associations in Arizona, and we're prepared to bring our knowledge and experience to help others, including landscapers and designers. Give us a call and hear how AquaTrack saved one HOA some 430 million gallons of water and $200,000 in annual water expenses. AquaTrack is Arizona-based, and you can reach us at 623-594-8689. That's 623-594-8689.
All right, welcome back to the second half of the Water Zone. Appreciate you guys tuning in and having a good time and learning a little bit more about water projects throughout the state. It's interesting. We have a very special guest, and I call this person a WOW person, and that stands for Woman of Water. And there's so many of them cropping up. It's awesome. I think that's really neat that more women are taking part in our government and the water, and it's an important factor that we all need, and without it, we die. But I want to introduce Ms. Chelsea Haynes. She's the Director of State Regulatory Relations at the Association of California Water Agencies, also known as ACWA, where she leads engagement with state policymakers and administrative agencies on statewide water policy and regulatory implementation on behalf of ACWA's 470 public agency members. Prior to joining ACWA, just a little background, she served as a legislative analyst at the State Water Resources Control Board. Chelsea holds a master's degree in international environmental policy from the Middlebury Institute of International Studies at Monterey and dual bachelor's degrees in environmental studies and planning from Sonoma State University. So with a warm welcome Ms. Chelsea Haynes.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
See how calm you are?
I'm so calm. You can't even see hands shaking because it's radio.
Same. So let's talk a little bit about kind of how ACWA works for those people who sort of aren't really part of this world. I know that, although I go to every single ACWA conference I feel like that's ever been, I think I'm on 20. Like, that's how many ACWA conferences I've been to, because I've gone for the last 10 years. I've been in the industry for 16. So there was 6 years before I went, and then 10 years of just nonstop ACWA, which I really appreciate. But let's talk about how it works, how it's structured, a little bit of a definition.
Who's on the board, how's that work, and so forth?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. So ACWA, we represent about 470 public water agencies, which range in size from where they get their water challenges. So from, north, south, inland, coastal, LADWP to City of Redding. We have the mountain counties down to the Inland Empire. So just a ton of diversity across our membership. Our board is a 37-member board. So, in and of itself, we have just a ton of diversity on our board. And I think one of, the most interesting challenges and opportunities with ACWA is our task is to find consensus among all of the public water agencies, right? Which doesn't happen. There are issues. We do not weigh in on everything because sometimes you just can't find the consensus. But the gem really is when you do find that consensus on an issue, and we're able to bring everyone together, whether it's through providing technical input or policy recommendations to the state, to the legislature, to the regulatory agencies, to the governor's office, even sometimes to our own selves, to our members. We'll share ideas across membership of what's working, and really try to problem solve and help guide where California water is heading.
So you got a lot of pull with water agencies in the government. That's a good position to be in, but it's also a tough position.
You might be overselling it.
Oh, okay.
We try.
What is Aqua's top policy priorities for the coming year, and how do they align with California's water challenges, which are many?
Yeah, I think, over the past decade, we've seen, in particular, a couple of really significant droughts that had a really big shaping of California water policy. So during the mid, 2012 to 2016, there was a really large drought that resulted in the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, and it shaped making conservation a California way of life. And I think what we saw as the water community was we were in a reactive place. And we helped, Aqua had a role in shaping those policies. That's what we do. We work with the legislature. We work with the regulatory agencies to help shape and inform these policies. But we know that there's going to be more drought. We know that there's going to be more floods. We know that there's likely more wildfires. We know that there's aging infrastructure challenges. And so our focus really has shifted to how can we be more proactive and anticipating some of these challenges, and what are the solutions that we want to bring to the table and help shape that policy agenda based on the needs and those little gems that we're hearing across the state from the diversity of our membership. Where's the need? How do we put that together and bring forward an agenda that's more proactive?
So I know that earlier we were just talking about how we're going to somehow secure Governor Gavin Newsom on the show, which we were just talking about. What are some concerns about the transition between, from one leadership style to the next? And what is Aqua kind of doing in that space? Because I know that it's so easy. I mean, though I joke, he has done a lot for water in his time, and he continues to try to do stuff for water. Unfortunately, that time is coming to a close. So how do we, what's that look like? What am I talking about being scared of?
Yeah, I don't think we need to be scared. But I think we need to be prepared, and that's what Aqua is focused on right now. Whenever we see a transition of administration, it does create a little bit of uncertainty, and the next governor likes to come in and set a new agenda and new priorities, and we've seen that in the transition from Brown to Newsom, where we went from a California water plan to the water resilience portfolio. Each governor comes in with an agenda. And so what we want to do as the Association of California Water Agencies is we've launched Vision for Our Water Future, which is an initiative really aimed at helping the candidates, even, before we know who the next governor is, really set a framework for this is how we see the solutions that you should focus on for California water policy. These are the priorities that we see for advancing a reliable and affordable water supply for California. We don't want you to lose momentum. When you step into the governor's office in January, you have a framework where we think that you're equipped to be able to hit the ground running so that you're not losing momentum. And there's, under this administration, I was listening to the conversations that you had in the earlier segment, there has been a lot of progress. There's been a lot of different policies I had mentioned, from SGMA to human right to water and the safer funding and making conservation a way of life. And maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel with sites. We don't want to lose the momentum of those initiatives. At the same time, we recognize there is a lot of work and a lot of challenges ahead. And so we want to make sure that the governor is well aware of how critical water is to the state of California, to the goals that they have around housing, around agriculture, around, every other priority that they've set, and that they know that Aqua and our member agencies, water suppliers across the state are ready to be part of that solution.
Thank you. I'm much less scared now.
you know what would be really interesting, especially in your position, Chelsea? Why couldn't we impose upon the candidates who are running for governor of California, and have them come on the show, and Aqua and us pose questions to them, and they can be like a debate,
like a forum.
Yeah, because they don't
I would
really
love that. I support this idea.
Let's do it.
I'll get with you tomorrow or Monday and talk about this, because I think it's important, because they don't talk about it in their normal things. They maybe have a 5-minute soundbite that they discuss and get it through. But it would be good to get both of them on and see what their real vision is. What are they going to do? What needs to be done? How are they going to do it? How are they going to pay for it? I mean, it's easy to say, these are all the things we're going to do, but where are they going to get the money from? And what are they going to do about a budget and all this? There's so much to talk about, but on the regular news, you don't see that. You only see just a short 3 to 5 minute blip about water, because there's many other topics that they're going to come in and talk about. But that's something I think would be a good thing to do. We'd be glad to host that on the show if you guys want to participate with that.
So we launched this vision for our Water Future initiative in March, and we've been working really hard to try to elevate water in the gubernatorial race, through the early primary debate. And for us, I think you all, for those that are so close to water, it's a no-brainer. Water is the foundation to California. It is not a siloed issue. It is the backbone to how we can build, how we can produce, how we can grow and operate. And yet it is so noticeably absent right now in all of the discussions. And I think that the media, us as a community, we have a responsibility to figure out how to elevate water and ask for a little bit of accountability around the details of what is the plan.
Yeah.
I love your idea.
We'll talk more about it. Just two quick. Well, it's one question, but two things in it. How does Aqua track and respond to changes in state and federal water regulations? And can you share some examples of recent successful policy wins or advocacy efforts?
Yeah, so Aqua has, we have both a federal and a state policy arm. And so we're really engaged both in the legislative and the regulatory side, and really really rely on the technical expertise and policy expertise of our membership. So because we have 470 members we lean on them for a lot of input, and we'll hold working groups where when we're talking about permit reform or making conservation a way of life or a water rights bill, we pull all of the thought leaders, whether it's an attorney bill or an engineer issue or a policy topic, we pull them all in and we say, help us understand what the impacts are. And so we'll provide red lines, or we'll use our political arm. We have great relationships with the state regulatory bodies, and so we'll engage, in all the different tools and mechanisms that we have. I think an example that comes to mind is when the State Water Board was developing the Making Conservation as a California Way of Life regulation. And where we started versus where we ended was a reflection of the advocacy of Aqua and our member agencies. And really what we were asking for was a lot more meetings in partnership to explain the unintended impacts with the policy that they were developing. A lot of these ideas that the state starts with are really noble and, a really important tool. When we think about the toolbox that we have, absolutely, it's an important tool. But is the size of that tool right? Is it the appropriate tool in that morning? Are we getting the details right? And in that case, the price tag, I think, started at like $12 billion is what they were thinking that it would cost for regulatory compliance. And so it's working on helping the state understand the unintended impacts, providing the right technical data, making sure that we're looking at the timelines and compliance appropriately, and bringing in all the different water agencies to help bolster that to get it to a better spot. And I know, we're not always we were writing the policy, it might look different than maybe how it lands, but we do our best, I think, to try to marry the state's goals with an outcome that is also moving the needle and is reasonable at the end of the day.
Well, one thing that I've sort of really seen as somebody kind of behind the scenes on this, which I've really enjoyed being a part of that side of what Aqua is doing, is really getting to that, what you said, the unintended consequences, because so many of the bills are just like, they're an amazing wish, right? It's like, oh, if only we could do X. And then it's just like two words that create some sort of legal issue in the future that they're not thinking about. And there's so much about the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. And that conversation is always ongoing in those spaces. And I think it's such a valuable tool for an agency like ours to be a part of, but also just to be able to have a voice and to then see it change and actually reflect those concerns that you have is this beautiful thing to sort of participate in. And I hope that everyone who is a part of that feels the same way. But definitely I've seen firsthand how effective that can be. So going back to like being a member and kind of, what that looks like, what are some of the member benefits beyond the sort of policy discussion that you might be able to enjoy as a member of Aqua?
Aqua, I think definitely the policy is a really important tool, and going back to like vision for our water future, we were able to bring all of our members from across the state together to really think through how do we want to communicate to the governor, what are the priorities, and that helps then shape what our 4 advocacy priorities were. So policy is near and dear to my heart, but we have these other really great services that we provide. Conferences is a huge one of those, and I think you had mentioned you're on your 20th conference, right, where we hold these amazing
It may have led to the job I currently have today. It may have led to that. I'm just saying.
People love to get together, especially when you're in the throes of complicated water policy or, you're problem solving. People like to nerd out, get together, have a glass of wine, and talk about really complicated things. So our conferences are really great. If you haven't been to one, absolutely. Our next one is down south, Anaheim, in December. Sign up for that. We have region events. We have regions that you can participate in, and they'll share more localized challenges and brainstorm. We have member toolkits. We'll provide member education services. So there's a lot that we do outside of the advocacy. Our team is always busy with the next thing that we're focused on.
Yeah, I think the communication toolkits are particularly helpful when you don't have the funding. For example, a small water agency wouldn't have the funding to have an entire comms team. You can just rely on Aqua for some of those, kind of the major water quality issues or the latest issue of the day. I know that we were working on those public safety shutoffs, all of that communication, because you don't always have, you're always blessed with an entire comms team of 25 who could just knock out a bunch of social media for this upcoming thing, which I think is another really interesting sort of benefit that a lot of people don't think about. Rob?
Yeah.
Well, going back to what you were talking about, your vision for water future, how does Aqua facilitate cooperation between the many different water stakeholders like residential, commercial, cities, farmers, environmental groups? How do they handle that?
Yeah.
What a finesse.
Well, yes, but how do you do it? I mean, it's important. I mean, you have a plan. I know that, but how do you get that across to people? Especially in the smaller water agencies or the private small ones that can't afford to clean up the water, and what do you do with them? Do you make the major ones buy them? and spend the money. How does that all work? How do you guys work those issues?
Where we started on vision was from a place of commonality, which was, it feels like I'm hearing really similar challenges from suppliers across the state. Whether you're big, small, whether your supply is groundwater or surface water or, whatever you're trying to get permitted, it felt like I was running into similar challenges, which was, it's just really difficult to get it done. It's long, it's complicated, it's expensive, there's uncertainty, there's so many different agencies, there isn't enough funding. And so I felt like if we started from a place of, do we agree that there's a problem? Like, what's the problem statement? And when we started there, rather than like, you have this and I don't have this, we're not fighting for something. Let's agree on the problem and what the asks are. And that's what Vision did. So right. Vision said, how do we GSD? How do we get stuff done in the state? Because everyone's running into the same hurdles. Not enough funding, right? We're hitting a funding cliff at the state. And we go from general obligation bond to general obligation bond. There's a lack of control. There was a lack of, control with Prop 4. We didn't have control over the pen. I don't think everyone was satisfied with, what was and the amount that was included. So should we look at new innovative options? Other states are doing it, Texas, New York. Maybe there's different things that we just aren't even considering. And permit reform. I know that sounds like an awful word. It gets immediately thought of as weakening. But when you have 5, 6, 7 regulatory agencies that are all issuing independent permit requirements with different deadlines, independent of each other, I think that there's a challenge and it could be improved. And so when we started just looking at it from across the state of these are the themes, I think it's so much easier then to say there's consensus here. We're not fighting against each other. We're actually very aligned.
Well, one of the things I usually ask near the end of the show with somebody is if the new governor walks in your office after the election and gets sworn in, and he says, what are the top 3 issues that need to be taken care of now? Where do you guys stand on that? Do you have a list?
I would say, I'd say I'm so glad you've been meeting with us for the past several months and taken Vision for our water future seriously, so we're not starting at 0. That's very great of you, Becerra and Hilton. And then I would say the 3 things that you need to do. You need to recognize the urgency of focusing on water. So appoint a team and unify them around delivering results. And then I would say you really need to figure out the funding challenge here. We need to establish a state funding source that's predictable and will support long-term investments in critical water infrastructure and environmental needs and the human right to water, so funding. And then I would say you need to figure out pretty quickly how to improve permitting processes across your state agencies to accelerate outcomes.
So, one last question. I think we only have time for one.
Yes.
If there was one thing you could just tell our audience about Aqua and what you guys are doing right now, what would that be?
The work is really difficult, and we want input, and we want to collaborate. So if you have ideas, reach out. Let's partner.
Good point. Well, now that you did the show, you totally relaxed?
Maybe later. So where can we find more information about Aqua?
Yeah, you can go to aqua.com. That's ACWA.com. And if you want to learn more about Vision for a Water Future, it's aqua.com/vision.
Great. We really appreciate you coming on the show and being our guest, and hope we had a little bit of fun with you. But we do appreciate all the hard work that you do and the passion that you have in doing that. So we need more women, more people like you and Tara and others to make it go. That's what we need, and I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate you for having me on this show.
Oh, you're very welcome. I will call you and we'll talk about that debate thing. I think that would be a great idea that we handle that and we get a little bit more than a 5-minute bite out of what they really think about water and what they're going to do. That's important. Because we always say at the end of our show, if you love green, you got to have blue. And we need the water for lots of reasons. Otherwise, we won't be here anymore. So thank you very much, Chelsea. You have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you shortly later, and you have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. Tara, thank you for today, and appreciate you every single show. And you get more fan mail than I am. I got to do something about that. But that's okay. I want it that way. So thanks a lot. And you have a great week, and I'll keep you imposed and what we're going to do with Chelsea and Aqua.
Sounds like the plan.
All they can say is no. I don't think Aqua would say no. I think the governors and the people.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by